Welcome to this explainer. A few months ago, I had this absolute light bulb moment about the tech we use literally every single day. For years, the promise of AI was that it was going to assist us, right? Basically acting like a super smart search engine or maybe a calculator that could also write poetry. But right now, we are crossing a massive threshold. AI is shifting from just talking to actually doing. And honestly, it is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into part one, the era of action.
To really get a feel for this, picture this scenario. Imagine asking an AI to organize a trip to Tokyo. And I don't mean just spitting out a list of recommended hotels or some flight routes. I mean telling it to actually organize the whole shebang. In this new era, the AI goes out, hunts down the flights, compares the prices, cross-references your personal calendar for conflicts, actively books the hotel, confirms the dates, and pings you an email with the fully booked itinerary. You literally don't lift a finger. The AI just does it.
Which brings us to part two, chatbots versus autonomous agents. Let's just take a step back and look at the insane leap we've made in just a handful of years. Think back to late 2022 when modern chatbots first hit the scene. It was a total game changer. For the first time, you're talking to a computer like it's a real person. But that 2022 version of AI, it was essentially a passive oracle. It was super wise, highly informed, but it couldn't actually act on your behalf. Fast forward to today, and looking ahead to 2026, we are dealing with active agents that execute tasks. The AI doesn't just respond anymore, it takes action.
Think of a traditional chatbot like an expert consultant. You ask, hey, how do I get in shape? And it gives you perfect advice: eat less, exercise more, get your sleep. But after you close that tab, you still have to go buy the groceries, cook the meals, and physically drag yourself to the gym. The consultant's job is done. An autonomous agent, on the other hand, is like a top-tier personal assistant. If you say you need to plan a corporate event, it doesn't just hand you a checklist, it calls the vendors, coordinates the dates, haggles over prices, and sends you the final options. Because let's be real, the crucial point here is that we humans are notoriously bad at consistently executing good advice. That gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it, that was the ultimate limitation of those old consultant-style chatbots.
All right, moving on to part three, the three pillars of the agent.
So how does this actually work? There's this three-step cascading flow that brilliantly shows how an agent can quote-unquote think and act like us. First up, it perceives its environment. It's not just reading your text prompts, it's reading your screen, pulling up your documents, and connecting directly to your apps. Second, it uses chain decision-making. Unlike a chatbot that fires back one answer and waits, an agent actually plans a sequence. It reasons, okay, to get result X, I need to do A, then B, and hey, if B fails, I better try C. Finally, step 3, execution. It actually clicks the buttons, fills out the tedious forms, fires off the emails, and locks in reservations. Let's ground this with a scenario we've all dreaded. It's 11 p.m. You've got a massive presentation tomorrow morning, but your client just emailed saying they moved the meeting location. You need an emergency flight to Monterey, pronto. With the old AI, you'd ask for cheap flights, get a list of links, manually open every single one, compare prices, punch in your credit card details, and then text the client. By 2 a.m., you are totally exhausted. But with an autonomous agent, you just say, listen, I need to be in Monterey by 7 a.m. Book the best flight with my saved card and email the client my confirmation. Bam, the agent handles the entire workflow while you get some sleep. Let's shift gears to part 4, big tech strategies. So, how are the heavy hitters playing this? Let's swiftly navigate this landscape because we've got 4 unique strategies, all pointing toward the exact same era of action. OpenAI is going all in on browser control, building agents that can literally take over your web browser to buy concert tickets or order groceries exactly like a human clicking a mouse. Anthropic is taking a slightly different route. They are focusing on connecting their AI securely to the digital tools and software you already use, putting a massive emphasis on safety and robust infrastructure. Google? Well, they're leveraging their massive ecosystem. Since they already have your Gmail, Calendar, Maps, and Drive, their agents aim to be a proactive assistant across your entire digital life. And Microsoft is brilliantly weaving agents directly into the workspaces where you're already spending your day, right inside Word, Excel, and Outlook. 4 distinct strategies, but absolutely one shared destination.
Next up, part 5, real-world impact.
Let's see what this looks like on the ground. Take Anna, a marketer. Her typical Monday morning used to start with filtering through 87 emails, setting up team meetings, updating weekly metrics, pulling data from 3 different platforms, and drafting up a client deck. That is 4 hours of pure mind-numbing admin work before she even gets to think strategically. With an agent, she just says, organize my Monday. The agent flags the urgent emails, drafts the replies, pulls the data reports, sends out the invites, and builds a rough slide draft. By the time Anna sits down at 9 a.m., the heavy lifting is completely done. She can focus entirely on high-level strategy and actually connecting with her clients. Or consider Carlos, a solo entrepreneur running an e-commerce store. Before agents, the guy was trapped in operational slavery. He was constantly answering the exact same customer questions, tracking inventory, making invoices, and basically acting as his own social media manager. Now, an autonomous agent handles all those repetitive tasks effortlessly. It answers the FAQs, sends a ping when stock is low, and auto-generates the billing. Think about how liberating that feels. Delegating all of that means Carlos can finally put his energy into scaling and growing his business, instead of just trying to survive the daily grind. But here's a scenario that I think is perhaps the most profound. Imagine a 72-year-old citizen trying to navigate complex medical benefits or government portals online. Historically, this meant staring at confusing forms, sitting on hold for hours, or having to rely on family members for help. With an agent, they can literally just use their voice to explain what they need. The agent goes in, navigates those labyrinth-like websites, fills out the dense forms, and translates all that bureaucratic jargon into plain English. This isn't just a fun productivity hack for office workers. This is about dignity. It's about autonomy and true digital inclusion for people who have been historically left behind by complex interfaces.
Which brings us to part 6, the price of autonomy.
Because when you hand over the keys to your entire digital life, who is actually making the decisions? The stakes here are fundamentally different now. Just look at this stark comparison. If a chatbot makes a mistake, well, it's a text error. It gives you the wrong date or some goofy advice. It's annoying, sure, but you can fact check it. But if an autonomous agent makes a mistake, that is an action error. It fires off the wrong email to your boss. It books your non-refundable flight for the wrong month. Or worse, it transfers real, actual money to the wrong bank account. Going from a simple typo to a real-world mistake completely changes the gravity of how much we can, or should, trust these systems. We are basically staring down what we can call the triad of risks. First up, the control dilemma. For an agent to actually be useful, it needs deep access to your accounts. That inherently creates a massive security risk if it goes rogue or gets hacked. Second, an online identity crisis. If an AI agent can send emails or make phone calls that sound exactly like you, how on earth does anyone know when they're talking to you versus your AI? And third, the unavoidable displacement of administrative jobs. Roles that are focused purely on repetitive data entry or basic coordination are standing directly in the path of this technology. We have to look at this impartially. Avoiding panic is just as important as avoiding blind euphoria. Our goal here is to understand these shifts so we can navigate them responsibly as a society. So, where does that leave us? Honestly, it leaves us leaning hard into the human advantage, because there are things these agents simply cannot replicate, no matter how advanced they get. Empathy, the lived intuition you only get from real-world experiences. Deep cultural values, the nuanced ability to navigate moral ambiguity, and true boundary-breaking creativity. So my advice to you? Start experimenting with these agents right now. Use them for the low-risk, repetitive stuff. Let the AI organize your messy spreadsheets so that you can pour your energy into the uniquely human skills that an algorithm simply cannot touch. We kicked off this explainer by marveling at an AI that could basically plan and book an entire trip to Tokyo while you sleep. The era of action isn't coming. It's already here. But as we hand off our daily administrative burdens to these autonomous agents, the most important question isn't actually whether the technology will work. The real question is, what will we do with all the time we save? Think about that for a bit. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next explainer.